And energy doesn't lie, right? So like, if it doesn't feel right, you shouldn't let it go, especially when it's your creative work. Energy is also very expensive. So if you're going to be pulling up to my space, especially this time in 2023 and forward, you best be pulling up properly and correct. That's what I've learned from the pandemic.
Lindsay Ann, welcome to Cast of Creators.
Oh, are we starting now?
We're starting right into it.
And let's go.
Yeah.
Here it is. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
we're so glad you're here.
So glad you're here.
I mean, I almost didn't make it here. No,
but you're fashionably late, and look at this perfection here. So
all Canadian. I'm wearing all Canadian. I love it. It's so good.
Amazing.
So is Ann a middle name?
So, yeah, I mean, Lindsay Anne Delaney, if you were to call my house, like back in high school, what would happen, it would be, they called me Lynn, right? I thought that was cool. And my mother, they would call the house and they said, oh, there's no Lynn here, but Lindsay Ann is here. So, And then my dad would call me Lindsay, but if I was in trouble, it was Lindsay Ann. But I feel 2023 is the year of Lindsay Ann.
Okay.
Lindsay Ann.
We have a Lindsay Ann here.
Yes, you do. She's arrived.
Fantastic. And we were talking about this episode with Kay a couple days ago, and Kay was like, oh my gosh, I know her. So we thought...
I know her. Bring me. I exist too.
Okay.
So fun.
Kay's been a real big cheerleader of mine. Every time I see her, she's just always like, oh my God, and I was just like, you're so sweet. But we met through a common friend of ours, Rockin' Karma.
Yep.
Naomi, who's
and what you're wearing today.
Who's awesome.
Yeah, not Rockin' Karma, TSC official graphics and printing, Rockin' Karma, TSC.
The sparkle's cool.
Yeah,
but look at how it matches with the nails. Like, you know what I mean?
I swear that wasn't planned at all. I don't have these glasses either. Maybe I should just be like this. So these are Black Iris, who's another Canadian designer. These are custom made for me as well. But yeah, I love Canadian designers. But yeah, I like a little outfit. But this is actually dropped off to me last night from TSC Graphics and Printing out of Scarborough. It was basically printed for me for this and this hat as well, to update a little look for you guys today.
That sparkle is
And you know what? The Canadian leaves are everything.
It's gorgeous. And also this brand as well, we're working together for printing AR 3D covers with Addicted Magazine.
So cool.
Which is really great. So that's a whole other conversation, because I've been working with Addicted as their fashion editor. And we have, instead of, when you do print is my love, but we all know that print is not, it's working its way out. So instead of having a barcode on the magazine that you would you scan when you go through, because I love elements of print even though it's only digital, because I think there's a very aesthetic to that.
I agree.
So I put the QR code for the AR code, right?
Oh, right. So the barcode would be.
Yeah, where the barcode would be. So Scarlett Bulbo from Canada's Drag Race, I just dropped that cover back in December. And that was the first time that we had done it. And when you scan it, it pops up and it's like a 3D and the cover's inside.
Cool.
And, but it's also interactive because we're going more to that, but keeping the elements of print. So it's like a printed cover inside of a 3D element. So I'm always looking for ways to shake things up, because
I love that.
It's just fun. And then, you go on it's only on Apple products right now, but you get basically, people like a little treasure hunt, It's like, what is this? Like, what's going on? And it's just more content. I mean, I love content. I love maximizing content. I love selling content. So that would be, so TSC Graphics and Printing out of Scarborough. So we've been doing that, and they have their own, like custom sweatshirts and t-shirts. And it's really great to work with artists who are innovated and always wanting to level up and understand that the future is coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on to what you've learned, but always try to advance what is coming, because it's going to keep going. Whether, if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it.
Yeah. And if you're not constantly evolving, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah. I don't really know any other magazine that's doing it, to be honest with you.
Amazing.
So I don't want to say that we're the first, but I haven't seen another magazine do that as far as integrating that into the cover series.
Well, shout out to the team at Addicted Mag. We will make sure to link that in the
Addicted Magazine is my new home. I love Addicted Magazine. It's basically, Nadia and Mark are amazing humans. So to be able to be their fashion editor and creative director, and I have a cover series, which I'm fully responsible for. I've had other placements, other magazines, and I have to ask for approval for this and for that. And this is like, it's like
It's your baby.
It's just
That's
do it.
great.
baby.
They let you run free.
they do. I don't know how they're going to feel about it in a year. Let me do it now.
And there's another cover with, I guess you could call them Canadian music royalty.
Oh my God. That's a story. So, so
We're all just looking at you
You're
like,
and
okay, so
spill the tea.
I got the tea.
We got all the tea.
Raine Maida and Chantal Craviassa.
Yeah.
So let's just dial back to Lindsay in Newfoundland, 19 years old, going to her first Our Lady Peace concert. And then, you have Chantal Craviassa leaving on a jet plane, Armageddon. And then, then they were in their videos together. And like, the whole, like, I've been a fan of their work forever. And, they're a staple of what couples, growing up in the industry, and they have a family, like everything about them. So I was at Superfresh, which is an Asian night market here in Toronto.
Yeah.
If you haven't been, you guys go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This place is
It's next level super.
It's super fresh. And they have the best fried chicken in town. And you can do gluten-free and non-gluten as well. Like, they're just everyone over there. So I was there with a client. And in true Lindsay fashion, I walk in and I'm like, what is this place? I'm like, the textures on the wall and the lighting. And I'm like, okay. And of course, the person I was with was talking to the owner. And Trevor. I get up. Yeah, well, there's Trevor. And then there's four. There's two owners. But but Trevor, it was Dave, actually.
Cool.
And Dave introduced me to Trevor. And then there's James. But they're all amazing. Yeah. Like, I can't even. So I said to Dave, I was like, so what are the chances, I can do a photo shoot in here? Like, dude, who's like, yeah. I was like, the pandemic and all these things. And they supported everything. And then with a matter of like 2 weeks, I was shooting there.
Amazing.
Now, at this same dinner, in true Lindsay fashion, I'm sitting at this table with my friend Hasho and a whole bunch of people from his company and stuff. And the guy sitting next to me does PR for Our Lady Peace.
Corey?
Yes,
Corey. Corey.
That's how I know Kay.
Corey. So Corey messaged you. Yeah, because you were with Corey.
and he manages me.
Yeah. Oh, I did not know that. Of course he does. So when Corey came back,
Corey.
I know, it's so fun. I love Corey. But, so Corey came back from the bathroom and I was sitting in Corey's seat. And he goes, I guess I could. I was like, no, I'll get up. So I'm sitting down and I'm like, I'm going to make you love me by the end of this dinner. So by the end of it, I was like, so what do you do? He's like, what do you do? And he said, I don't know. We talked about a few things.
So Corey.
Oh, he was amazing. I love Corey.
Yeah.
His mannerism, everything about him, he's hilarious. So he essentially said that we got on the topic about him doing PR for Our Lady Peace. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I've been, in chats with people putting Raine on the cover of Addicted. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, I can just email Raine and Chantal right now. I was like, oh, can you?
Hey, best friend.
So I was like, we can do a double cover, triple cover, single, whatever you want to do. And they emailed back right away. And then I was on an email with them. And then 2 weeks later, we were at Superfresh with a full team.
Oh, my God.
Chantal is wearing like a gorgeous, like pink, a vegan leather suit from Nurses. Like, you've never seen them like this. They trusted me. And I'm just like, that was like a dream come true. So
must have been so humbling.
I was nervous. You're sitting there, and then it's like, and then Superfresh, they cooked for us that day.
Oh, amazing.
You know what I mean? And it was just like, Chantal went to etalk and she came back, and I'm sitting there and I was like, wow. Like, but I also felt like, okay, we back.
Yeah.
We back,
Yeah.
Like, Emma, like creatively, like we back. And, and it was, it honestly was probably it's definitely, that's a check mark in my career.
A career highlight.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I would say the F word. I don't know if I can, but abso-fucking-lutely. But yeah, and they're so kind. And it was just, it was really great. And then Chantal and Raine had invited me to their concert here in Toronto because they toured together.
Yeah.
And then their son opens for them.
I saw that on his Instagram.
And I'm like, so when we were at lunch at Superfresh, Raine showed me a few things. So he pulls out the EP. He goes, my son is, and I'm like, I'm sitting there eating fried chicken with my ear to and I'm like, the voice.
Yeah,
Like,
he's really good.
He is. That is the next generation of music right there. And I mean on another level. But I mean when your mother's Chantal Cavaillezza and your
What do you expect?
father's Raine Maida, like, whoa, like look out world. He's coming.
Yeah. Totally.
So, that
Love
was
it.
fun.
And you were on a cover.
Okay, you gotta bring that up. What do you mean? I mean, yes, I was. I was on the cover of Beyond Fashion. That happened during the pandemic, which was great. I mean, as a creator, you know, and it was one of those things that I had been 100% like, I'm a photographer. I don't want to do modeling. I don't want to, you know what I mean? Because I was determined to prove myself.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and it's like, okay, now you got to do whatever you can just to be still in, So
Keep up appearances.
Keep up appearances. So I'm like, okay. So that happened. So I was on the cover of Beyond Fashion magazine. Honestly, that was another moment, because I was dressed in soft, and then I think it was Hillary McMullen, and my hair, I had this artist who created this mask for me that she glued to my face, the makeup artist.
That's so cool.
Her name is Victoria, and it was Alexander McQueen inspired. So I said, if I'm going to do something, I had to make a statement, because it wouldn't be Lindsay if it didn't.
In true Lindsay fashion.
Let's remember. So I wanted to make sure when you saw that cover that you knew that was during that time. But it also was a piece of art. But Beyond Fashion magazine, I've done some work for them as well. I told my story. I had the first time I wore a white trench coat. I had Cynthia from the Trend Office. She was my stylist. Like, hello, how did that happen?
Amazing.
The team was really great. It was shot by Alicia Turturilla, which was one of my assistants at the time.
Amazing.
And we went in, and and then we got shut down the next day again.
Oh.
Like, we was in and out. So, I was glad that I did it. So, I do have some other news since you brought that up, Kay.
It's just a little segue.
Please
More
share.
tea.
More tea. So, RBG is a really good friend of mine. I've been doing a lot of work for her. And most recently, she just asked me to walk New York Fashion Week.
Shut up.
Stop.
So she's going to be doing a live stream here outside in Burlington, and she has some gowns. She's been doing a lot of work with Winona Judd. So I will be walking in her runway show.
Oh my God, that is huge.
That is, I still haven't wrapped my brain around it, but
And then she wonders why I'm her biggest cheerleader. Like, are you for real?
Yeah, I love that. And Jordan, right?
Jordan, yes.
Yeah, Jordan, she makes fantastic dresses, and I love her stuff.
So at the Canadian Arts and Fashion Awards, she made my red dress.
That was a stunning
dress.
piece.
So that dress was actually supposed to be the cover for Beyond Fashion magazine.
Oh.
And it just, one of those things that just didn't line up. So I had this beautiful red dress, and it was just like, okay. And it's like, it will come, pandemic. And then when, the Canadian Arts and Fashion Awards listed the new gen list.
Yes.
Which was, it was craziness. Top 25 Canadians in Canada, artists, and that, where else would you? I was like, she's like, where you're going to wear your dress now. So that dress was custom fit to my body. It was the first plus size gown that she'd ever had created. She did Roxy Earle's wedding dress. That dress was made before Roxy Earle's wedding dress. That is some tea for you. But, and Roxy Earle, I love Roxy. Everything she's done for the plus size community and everything, So it's very humbling to have someone like that at your hand. And then for her to, put me in a dress for New York Fashion Week for her live stream here, and are you kidding me? Sure. I was like, just make sure you put me in some shoes, because she's not going to be on those stilettos. Just let her know. But it's good.
Does it cover the shoes?
Pardon?
Does it cover the shoes?
We were talking about that this morning. I was like, if they can't see the shoes, maybe I can get George Sully to send me some kicks, and I can be
you know what? I'm sure he would, George.
Why not?
I'm sure he would
George,
too.
hello.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
If they're not all sold out, which I've heard from him.
Like, can you whip some up in your condo, George? Do you know, please?
I've asked George for, to buy shoes a couple times. At both times, they've been sold out.
It's sold out.
His work, and that's a good thing. His son just, basically had a shoe line. It's like the most He's like 3 years old. I think it's on 100 grand.
Yeah, the biggest shoe mogul in Canada, under 5 years old.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, it's crazy. But, you know, that
George
whole
has got him in there cobbling
together. He's setting down a path, George Sully. Listen, there's a new Toronto in town, so just for you know. And he's running the show. And I also.
Adrian Sully, look out.
Yeah, facts. It's so good.
Yeah, so good.
But yeah, no, it's going to be great. I feel like I love the new energy that's going on, and it's, you know, we've all had a bunch of ups and highs and lows, and I think it's really important, and as a creative, to go through something like a low. You know, everyone always sees this, but it's not always this. You know what I mean? So, you know, you get this, but sometimes I go home and I'm just like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Well, like, oh God, okay, tomorrow. Okay, what's tomorrow? And then I'm like,
So, I had Sean, my boyfriend, once said, "You use all your sunshine up on the internet, but when you come home, you have nothing left." And I was like,
"That's the way it gotta be sometimes."
Like, because you're out and about, you're like, "Hey, hi, hey," and then you get home, and you're like,
but it's true though.
It's true.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And the thing is that, you know, I would say I had a really good run in my career before I actually had personal things and career things happen. They say because when you climbing, you know, you all like, and then when you get somewhere, you're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And you realize
careful what you wish for.
There's politics, and there's all kinds of different structures, and there's a lot of people that don't want you to win, and they said that you did, but they never thought that you would. And it's just like, I don't know if we met 10 years ago, but I am here to stay and I'm not going anywhere. But it's also a fact that, you know, when you have things come into your personal life and I have to go on set. So I took a break. Like, you know, there was a big gap in my Instagram and work, and I was sitting on work, and I was like, I need to figure out what's good for me, because, you know, I'm doing everything for a lot of other people. But like, what is good for Lindsay Ann, you know, like what is good for my brand? And, you know, just because I did work and we did collaborations, or you're doing editorials, when you drop something, like, it has to be the right time. Like Scarlet Bobo is a perfect example of professionalism. So that cover that we did, I shot in that Vancouver about 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I was trying to find a home for it. It wasn't ready. And then I had a part of another project, and that project got politically cut out. And that was my first time experiencing politics here in Toronto, you know, especially in the creative community. So I was like, what am I going to do with it? So when I called her, I was like, I'm really sorry. I was like, but she's like, I would rather it be done properly. So whenever you're ready, it's good. And now that cover's dropped. She's in Amsterdam right now. Wow. She's had a video release done. She's like all over London. Like she was just at DragCon in the UK. Okay. And I literally, when I FaceTimed her to show her cover, she's literally going around to all the RuPaul Drag Race drag queens like, look at me. And I met like 15 drag queens on FaceTime. Showing my cover, and they're like, all follow me on Instagram. So it's just like, energy doesn't lie, right? Mm-hmm. So like, you know, if it doesn't feel right, you shouldn't let it go, especially when it's your creative work. Energy is also very expensive. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be pulling up to my space, especially this time in 2023 and forward, you best be pulling up properly and correct. That's what I've learned from the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So.
Right, because it's you know, a valuable asset, energy.
Yeah.
And if someone's going to suck it from you, forget them.
Yeah, or if they feel entitled. You know, I had an artist at one point reach out because we had done something and it had been 9 months that they had. I'm like, I told you when it's ready and we're ready to go, you know, like I'm still sitting on some work, but there's going to be a lot of work coming out from that time. But you did this work, especially when you do collaborations, to further your career, not just to put something on Instagram. Yeah. Right. Mm. So that you want to put something on Instagram, I'm not your girl. You know what I mean? Unless you want to pay me, I'm still here. Yeah. But like, you know, at the end of the day, like when you do a collaboration, you do an editorial, like that has to have a home.
Right.
Has to have a purpose.
Make an impact.
And an impact. And it don't matter if it was 9 months, 9 weeks, 9 days. Do you know what I mean? If I say I'm going to do something. Yeah. And then, you know, it was more or less like I had said that I had taken a break. I was working on my own mental health, trying to figure, and there were things thrown in my face like, well, mental health isn't an excuse and this and that. And I'm like, well, you know what? You're going to get what you need, and I'm going to give you what you need because that's what you need. And I moved on from that.
Yeah.
And then after I have to release all that energy, then it was like, now Bobo has this cover with an A&R code, and then Raine and Chantel, like their A&R like 3D cover is crazy.
Yeah.
George Sully is going to be on the cover for February. And, if I could tell you what's in my DMs and my emails, it's like, okay, so, but it's got to feel right. If it doesn't feel right, then you got to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for work, personal, whatever. And I think that was trusting in the process.
Yeah.
I always trust in the process of my work before I ever trust in the process of what's going on in my life. And that for me was so random. So now I just trust in the process of everything. So, I have to like just let it go. And, I think that's just a harsh reality of what, being creative is. So like, if you want this, you better be giving me some of that back.
Yeah.
Well, it's just mutual energy exchange, right?
For sure. 100%.
Yeah.
And it's just respect, but to have other and some people are just selfish and they don't even realize that. And that's okay. And, you don't know what's going on in other people's worlds, and you have to understand that. But as a creative, we feed off of our own work. So like, I'm only here, I want everybody to win. I'm only here to do good. I'm not here to be an asshole. Like some people are assholes, for that photographer didn't give me the photos. It's like, cause they're an asshole. You didn't get anything because it's not ready. Yeah. And I think but also I understand people needing shit too. But, but then it's very particular, no matter what, paid, not paid, collaboration, podcast, it has to fit. The energy has to be good. And if it doesn't fit my energy, like Casey, you and our energy fit from the back, we just fit from the beginning.
You got here, we've just been screaming and jumping and like, where's the team?
Right? But like, that's good. So like, but that's okay. That's a good way to live your life. And then you'll be more further and profitable financially, physically, and mentally.
Yeah.
So that's my Dr. Phil moment today, guys.
Right.
Just for
Earlier in a career, though, there's sort of a mindset of scarcity before almost your success proves that, actually stuff's abundant, and you can flip it a bit and get more specific. So what you're really talking about is you're talking about sort of transitioning out of this mindset of scarcity where you'll sort of trade off an energy suck because you feel things are scarce.
Because people say, this is an opportunity, or
right.
Some people think they're further along in their career than you are, so you owe them.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm here to tell you, I owe you nothing. So, it's also, I think the one thing I've learned, especially like, the 25 top creatives in Canada that the Canadian Arts and Fashion Awards had listed, those creatives, I was in a room full of them, and the energy in that room is different. And I think there's an old school mentality, which is great. I respect everything from before, but like it's different. There's a new Toronto in town. I've been saying it, and we move differently, right? Yeah. So like, yes, you have to pay your dues. Yes, you need to do certain things, but you don't need to be an asshole about it, and no one owes you anything. So it's really interesting because I have a lot of photographers in Toronto who I have crushes on, who I love, but everyone's journey is different.
Yeah.
So you gotta respect that time. So I feel like back in the day when I was an assistant, if I could tell you some of the stories that I was put through, and I still had to be, getting coffee or getting yelled at, or, if we're on set and you offer your opinion about something, if you're wrong, that's okay, but it's like, why are you speaking?
Yeah.
When I have assistants on set and I'm like, we're all talking. It's my decision at the end of the day because it's my set, but like, why not embrace a voice? Because the younger generation is the new creative eye.
Right.
Yeah.
So why and what appeals to them?
It's your customer.
It's exactly.
In some respect, yeah.
You don't want to pigeonhole yourself, but respect that. And if someone feels respected, they're going to work more for you. Yeah. Right? So like that's all. It's all about loyalty and respect. And if you're passionate about that and you're real about that, and like you can sense. Like I feel we all on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
You meet somebody and you talk to them, you're like, oh.
You get a vibe. You're like,
No, thank you.
Cool.
gotta go.
But it's not worth my time to, engage that, be polite and move on. That's just what that is. But my favorite thing is when people, they try to like snowball you. And you're like, okay.
What do you mean by that?
Like, when you meet, we go to all these events we go to, you know what I mean? And, you who's Joel, oh my God. And you're just like, and there's always that one person who's doing everything in Toronto, but not doing anything in Toronto.
Yeah.
But,
I will not name any names.
no, like, that's cool. But when you first going to those events, you don't know that person that, but it's, and you let them snowball because you're like, oh yeah, like, let's go. But I think it's like, again, energy doesn't lie and energy's expensive. So I'm trusting here, not my heart, not my head. I'm going with my gut for 2023.
Nice.
I love that though.
Yeah.
Totally. I'd like to see your gut wrestle your head, wrestle your heart, trying to convince it on somebody.
I mean, I'm not one to cross, Nelson.
Don't come for me, bro.
I mean, I hang out with Casey, so we have some mutual friends who are bad. We hang out with some bad bitches. Yeah,
bad bitches.
Some of them I'm afraid of, but I will admit that right here. I'm not gonna lie, but it's just you have to, as a photographer and as a creative director, you are responsible for a lot of different things. You know what I mean? It's not, and like, I'm responsible for money in people's pockets. I'm responsible for getting other people work through my work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I take my job very seriously. And I think it's really important, even, RV&G putting me in that red gown for CAFA. Like, and I'm on the red carpet and I have Greta Constantine behind me and I have another designer in front of me. And I'm like, I'm there in the red dress, and then George Pimentel taking my photo, and I'm like, how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah,
is this real?
Like, all these fancy people, like, but it's also, you gotta understand the game. It's a game, but like I said, there's a new Toronto in town. We're not playing games. We're just being real.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So where did you grow up?
I'm from Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Came from me mother. She named me about, a few years back.
Yes, more accent.
Yes, I just, the accent comes out. I go home and I'm on the phone with clients and they're like, oh, you're at your parents. I'm like, what are you talking? And they'll laugh, especially clients I've had for years. Our friend Nadia, the managing editor of Addicted Magazine, she's like, not hard to tell that you're home. I'm like, what are you trying to say? Well, like, if I'm at dinner and she'll call me and a couple of drinks and she's like, oh my God. She goes, the accent. I'm like, what are you trying to say, Nadia?
Yeah.
Well, so you'll slip back into it.
Oh, yeah. When I get a couple of drinks to me, like, sometimes people like, oh, you're from Newfoundland. People like to hear the accent. So I'll go to that. Like, I'll go there.
Even when I talk to my parents, because they have a New Zealand accent, and like, I had a New Zealand accent when I was like a small child. So like, after a few drinks, like, it comes out. Or I talked with my sister, my mom, my dad. It happens. So, I mean, you're from like East Coast. You can way easier go there. Way easier.
There's an argument too, because I grew up in a town called Stephenville. And then we left Stephenville and we went to Edmonton, Alberta, where my father did his PhD education administration.
Wow.
So my father is Dr. Jerome Delaney, not the medical kind, he'll tell you. And then we moved back to St. John's, Newfoundland. So it's just like, are you a townie or are you a Bayman? I'm like, I'm a mainlander now. So like half townie, half Bayman. But I literally, people, when I lived in Boston, I've lived in Baltimore, I went to school in Halifax. So when I meet people, they're like, you don't sound like you're from Newfoundland. I'm like, my parents are teachers.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm just older and I've refounded my accenta. But yeah, I'm proud to be from Newfoundland. I feel like being from Newfoundland is a part of the reason why I'm so successful. It's part of the reason why I'm like this.
Yeah.
It was one of the things I waitressed a lot and was in the service industry, obviously all through art school. And I think that's part of, but it's the East Coast culture. It's essentially, even when I was home, I remember I was in the Newfoundland Herald and there was a lady came up to me. She's like, oh, you're that that photography girl. And I'm like, photography girl? Like, she goes, you're taking pictures of the big people. And I'm like, God bless. In the middle of Walmart, you know. It's like, but, you know, people are proud of what I'm doing. Yeah. And that there's nothing like being approached in a store or like, you know, I was at the airport in the lounge and a gentleman came up to me. He's like, I just saw you on, you know, on a TV show. Like I was interviewed a lot when I was home this time around, obviously because of CAFA and everything I have going on.
Yeah.
And I usually go home and do radio, but this time it was a whole
CBC followed you around for a day, I think.
CBC followed me around for a whole day.
Wow.
Like, honestly, it was like I went into the morning show and I was on, and then I left there, and then they called me back to do a TV interview with Here and Now with Carolyn Stokes. And even when I was like, Carolyn Stokes called me, I was like, Carolyn Stokes is calling my phone? It's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And then Leslie Hampton was out there too, and we just shot a campaign for her. So they came down, and Leslie Hampton is a Canadian designer, also CAFRA, you know, official, and she has a new line coming out, and we just shot down the Middle Cove Beach, and then they sent a camera down to Middle Cove Beach to film us, and I was like, that's great, because I didn't have a BTS guy in Newfoundland, so thank you, CBC. And it was, and then there's posting everywhere, and they had the behind the scenes for Raine. Like, it's just, and when people, like, obviously I know what my credentials are, right? Yeah. So I'm just like, go, 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 go. But when you have a broadcasting system or a television or, you know, a station and they...
Yeah, a major network.
Major network, yes. Thank you, Casey. That's why you're here. Thank you. So major network, they put together stuff and they're like naming, I'm like, oh, like, but I always like, oh my God, what did I leave? I'm like, what did I say? What did I do? What did I wear? Did I wear that to be like, it's just constant, but it's humbling. It's super humbling. But yeah, CBC followed me around for a whole day. My mom is like, and I put 2 shoots that day. Mom's like, God, she goes, I was like, this is Toronto life, mother.
Yeah. She's like, what?
Yeah. I was like, Dad, I need your Cadillac all day. No problem. I was like, he goes, my car? I'm like, he goes, okay, no problem. Yeah. I was like, I'm sorry. I can't drive Mom's car. I got to drive Dad's Cadillac.
Yeah. I love it.
It's so much fun.
So fun.
So when you were in high school, were you in Edmonton or were you in Newfoundland?
God, high school.
Or Boston.
Maryland. High school, I block out because I was just high school.
I block mine out too.
Yeah, like
I don't remember.
People from high school were just like, they were so mean.
I had a lot of that too.
Yeah, you know, I was in Newfoundland.
Look at me now, bitch.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Watch me on CBC. Turn on the news while you're sitting there.
You're still in my hometown.
But you know what? I will say that, like, just looking at the two of you, I know that you guys have such a bright light, and I feel that people can see that right away, and they knew that you were going to be a success. And I think that, especially as a teenager, if they look at you, that's why they did it. It's because they wanted to.
They were trying to cut the trees down, but nope,
not today. But actually, though,
I feel like I just never really fit in anywhere, and I just don't care. Like, and now I'm just like, you know, it's my circle's very small, and I'm like, okay, this makes sense. You know, like I was never meant to be, and you know that's
you were meant to bust out of that.
Which is fine. I was different. I mean, very different. Yeah, very different. But I was essentially. I went to school. So back to your original question.
Circle back.
I went to high school in Newfoundland and St. John's. And then I left. I worked on George Street for a while, partying my ass off. Like, let's keep it a buck. And then I went to Boston, did my first camera course at New England School of Photography. I was an au pair. I was responsible for somebody's kids for a couple of years.
Is that when you started photography? Or were you doing it in high school?
So I was that person. Now you're going to make me date myself, Nelson.
I don't have
You
don't have to drop
person.
dates.
No, I'm not dropping dates, but you know, when you refer to equipment you're using as a photographer. So I was that person.
Back when I had a,
I own it. I was that person that I always had a disposable camera in high school. Mm-hmm. So I would always like go to parties, take pictures and, you know, print off 10. The girls would be like, why are you doing that? Now you bitches got those photos. You glad you got those photos?
Yeah. And also they're really popular again.
I got my first camera in Boston. I got basically with the Au Pair in America program, they send you to do one course. So I went to, can you imagine? I mean, it would happen.
That way is okay, actually.
It's definitely happened to us a couple of times, Casey. When Casey and I go out, but like, it's not a tornado. It's like, it's just a zombie.
It's bigger than a tornado. Look out, everyone in our way.
Yeah, and all of our friends are just like, okay, Casey and Lindsay, you guys can go over there. And we're like, no. We kind of sandwich everybody in between us until they all filter out. We meet in the middle.
Yeah. And it's really loud.
It's very. What are you talking about? It's not loud. It's never loud. I'm never loud. I'm just vocal.
Yeah. That's what we'll call it.
Expressive, vocal.
Direct.
Confident.
Confident. So wow, I like this conversation. Yeah, so back to your original question, Nelson. It was the first time I did a photography course, and it was at New England School of Photography in Boston. And I had swindled a loan to get a camera. And the Old Parent America program, they pay for you to do one course, and then you take care of their kids. And then it's a whole, I was getting me out of Newfoundland, basically. I had to get off the rock. And then I went to DC and Baltimore, and I did like a computer graphics course when Excel was like, just coming out, again, dating myself. And then I went back to Newfoundland and to the College North Atlantic, which would be like equal to Humber. And I did a diplomacy program, visual arts. And I was valedictorian of my program, and I helped change the course because they were only doing film. And then our last year was a 2-year program. Our last year was changed to digital. We got grants, and because I was going to NASCAT University in Halifax, or I was going to go to OCAT. I hadn't really decided, but I got a scholarship to NASCAT, and then I went to NASCAT University in Halifax, and then I did a BFA with a major in photography.
Wow.
And then I was working at this is a really great story, actually. Didn't want to go back to Newfoundland. Loved staying in Halifax. I had like 5 jobs, so I was good. You know what I mean? I was catering. I was doing all the things. So I was like, why would I leave? I'm not going to go back to Newfoundland and do wedding photography. No offense to wedding photography, but I just can't.
It wasn't for you.
Not for me.
Well, that's all you would be doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Of those people you went to high school with.
And their pictures would be so fucked up. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Payback. God, sorry, your dress is like,
karma.
Oh, my bad. That is awful, but it's so true. So essentially what happened was I stayed. So I wanted something more on my resume than like bartending or retail. So I was head bartender for a catering company in Halifax, and her daughter we used to do big weddings out in Chester, which was where all the money was in Nova Scotia. And she had her best friend, and she had a chiropractic clinic. Her husband was a chiropractor, and they were looking for a receptionist. And so because they all knew each other, it worked. But they only needed me a couple of days a week. They had someone bubbly to answer the phones. I was like, I'm your girl. Yeah. And it was great. So, and then I was working there for a couple of months. And then Sandy Moore came in, and he's an artist in Halifax. And we would chat. His wife worked at Neptune Theater. I love this man. I was like, he was like something I can relate to. And then one day he came in with his daughter, and Sandy went in, and her and I were chatting, and she's like, oh, like you're new. What do you know? I was like, I just graduated from NASCAT with major in photography. And she's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to go to Toronto or New York and be a fashion photographer. And she's like, oh, and then she chatted some more. And then she went over and she picked up an issue of Fashion Canada. Yeah. She goes to the back page. She's like, oh, I'm a model. And I'm like, cool. But I look down at the credit and it goes, Chris Nickel. I was like, you know Chris Nickel? She's like, he's my husband. I was like, fuck me. No. I was like, okay. And I was white. I was like, whoa, that's really cool.
Yeah. Give it cool.
Sweating, like hyperventilating. And so Lorca Moore is her name. And so she gave me her information. And that was like January. So then it was like, she goes, if you want to intern in Toronto, I can probably help you out. I was like, perfect. So a few months go by, and then I went to the Dominican Republic and shot a wedding. I came back and was like, I'm not doing weddings, even if it's on a beach and I get to drink for free for a week is not happening.
Yeah, not worth it.
So I emailed her. I was like, I'm moving to Toronto. I didn't know if I was just like, how do I do this assistant intern thing? She called me the next day. She said, Chris and the team are going to be in town. Like, do you want to go meet with him? And so I went up and met with the team, and then I was with them for like a week, and I quit every job I had.
Wow.
I quit my catering job. There was a big thing at Art Gallery because they kept asking me to come back. And this is the first professional set I've really been on was Chris Nichols. Like, what a gift. I'm like, and then after that, it was one of those things that I was like, I need to go to Toronto. So the fashion manager at that time, or the producer, became the fashion manager of St. Joseph's Communications. Right. So I had messaged her and said I was coming and so on and so forth. And I went up for an interview. Chris had offered me an internship at the studio, and then they offered me a full-time job at St. Joseph's Communications as a fashion photo assistant. I was in Toronto for 2 weeks.
Oh, great.
Oh my God.
That never happened. So I was like, what do I do? And then, they were like, this is not normal. Like, it was like perfect. So I worked at St. Joseph's Communications about 4 or 5 years. I went from like being on fashion sets to being, on, home sets to the point where I was shooting and, but I was still an assistant, and I wanted to be a photographer. So I had to make the choice to like jump ship. Otherwise, and I wanted to make more money. It was like, I appreciate, the structure of a in-house studio, but I was like, I want that freelance money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I jumped ship. So I'm grateful for St. Joseph's Communications. So it was like my boot camp,
Yeah,
and people were trickling in. I got to, it was so good.
Yeah.
And then I left there and it was like, this is real life in the freelance world, and realized how good I had it, but it's okay. Cause then you got to hustle, right? Cause not that, it's a different kind of hustle.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that was definitely a growing spurt at that point.
Yeah.
But if you can't be assisting when you want to be a photographer. So you had to find other outlets of how to do work. But yeah, that's that story. So thank you, Chris Nichols and Lorca Moore. Like, wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
I died though. Like, I still have that issue with Fashion Canada. When she picked that up, and I was like, I'll never forget that feeling when she said, "Oh, Chris Nichols is mom." I'm like, what?
Wow.
I'm like, whoa, okay. So like, and then in my head, Lindsay, don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. Like, how do you do this? How do you do this?
Yeah.
But again, that was, it's you never know what's going to happen. It goes back to my original statement. You got to go with the energy, and you got to be ready for every opportunity, and you got to take the good with the bad. And, like, you're going to have highs and lows in this career. And I think the one thing I had to understand, especially in the last year, like 2022, I would say, is that you become a different person and a different type of creative when you embrace the change and the challenge that you have, because you're only going to come out stronger. And you're only going to come out making more money after that. And that is so important to understand, because you're going to have these waves. It's not always going to be like here, you know? And, I'm not in this business for red carpets and champagne. I've said that before. I'm here to make my mark, make some money. And, I want to leave my mark in I guess, in history of art,
Yeah.
So like I have some work in the Emily Harding Gallery.
Oh my gosh.
In Toronto. So I used to do pre-contributing editor for Vitalize magazine. And I went to a fashion show. This is another true Lindsay situation. So Kim Cloutier from Stitch. So one of the first sets that I was on with her, it was actually Chris's set. I was assisting a stylist, and we were down in the Bluffs, and this big storm came. So, we had to get her out, and I met her as a photo assistant, and then I saw her at a Michael Kale show, and I walked up to her and I was like, so I want to put you in a cover of a magazine. And I was like, and we'll put you with Michael Kale. And she's like, sure. And I was, oh,
you're like, okay.
Okay. Like, but Kim is the most like amazing human,
Yeah.
So then I had to go to Michael, and guess he had stuff shipped from New York, and there was all vintage things. And then I had this whole situation where I wanted to shoot in an abandoned subway station down in Lower Bay Station.
Yeah, Lower Bay.
Yeah, and that's really hard to get as well. But this all happened in a matter of a week and a half. Insurance, I had 5 hours down there.
Oh, damn.
And, it's also like the blessing. So to get the train, because there's, the budgets are low. To get that train, it's a whole situation. So Sandy, God bless, shout out to Sandy from the TTC. She's like, yeah, that's engineering. It's like, it's a lot of money. I'm like, okay, I get it. So I thought I just had the subway station.
Like no train
coming and going. But then they were doing training that day.
Oh, wow.
She didn't even tell me until she's like, I was like, because I sent her flowers, and, she was just like, yeah. So I'm like, what? So I was jacked. You got to get all the stuff from the top of the, hit all the way down to the abandoned subway station. Make sure people aren't stealing your shit in the subway. Like, Oh, wow. Yeah, that was there.
Yeah. There goes the mark.
There goes the mark. Actually, I think I just made my mark with that situation.
How do you get into it? Where do you get into it from?
Get into what?
The Lower Bay. Is it through the existing? You go down through the existing, through like a side door, like in the Matrix or something?
Lower Bay is actually Lower Bay.
It's under Bay Station.
Under Bay
like under us,
Station.
where we are actually right now.
100%.
Yeah.
So there's like
It's
another.
real Lower Bay
it's like
here.
Lower Bay.
Uh-huh.
So that was, but then you have to you have to understand so if you go to my website,
It's on the top of your
so-
website. It's a video. It's beautiful. I'll make sure to link it.
it's also if you go also
Yeah,
to
I
my
like
website.
how your website opens up with that full screen.
Thank you.
I think it's great.
Thank you. I like a good first impression.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Obviously.
Easy, I can't with you. So on my website, if you go to www.lindsayanndelaney.com, it says a closer look. So it's all the videos. I always love to have BTS videos because I think it's important to understand what we do as creatives. Like, it's not always just about the photo. It's always about the project leading up to the photo, the process as well. So Lower Bay Station, the subway pulls up, and then they were all there, and they were so great. And they said, you have 20 minutes. So the boys were like so good, and they were loving what I was doing. And I was like, yeah, you guys have lunch yet? He's like, no. I was like, so if I order you lunch, she's like, oh, then we're gonna be delayed. I'm like, oh, that's so sad. So I was like, go get these guys some fucking sandwiches, please, whatever. And they were so good. And literally, like, the guy was on the speaker, like, you could hear the walkie-talkie. I'm just like, oh my God, like, but you know what? Also, again, like, good energy. So Kim is at the front of the subway and Michael Kale, and I'm shooting, and you have all the TTs, like 20 men standing behind you, like, and my team. It was just amazing. So that was on the cover of Vitalize magazine.
Amazing.
And then I went to art opening, Emily Harding from Emily Harding Gallery, who now reps me in Toronto. She is, the work that she has in there, like Robert Bentley, like there's so many, the artists in, like, she's so New York. Like I love the vibe in there because it's in a really cool loft. She's like, oh, like we could do a show. I'm like, could I literally had just, like, I was on my phone, I was showing her. I was like, what do you mean? She picked it up. Then I had an opening at the gallery and they were like stainless steels. We had private dinners, with Chef Roman. I just maximized it. And then, we shot a fashion podcast, from the CAFA Awards, with Donna Bishop. And it was me, Michael Kale, and Kim Cloutier in the gallery with all my work around talking about the photo shoot. And at that moment, I was like, this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
When you pull something off like
awesome.
that, I was like, yeah, I'm not fucking going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't plop you in front of a backdrop.
Yeah, right. But it's a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
sure is.
Absolutely.
I'd be nowhere without my team. Like, you have to, like, that's why, like, if you're on set, if I feel people. So if my assistant needs to go outside and call their mom or have a cigarette, or my makeup artist is like, we're behind, I'm like, we are all here for the same reason. If you need 20 extra minutes, and that is what gets the whole, ambiance better and the end result, take the 20 minutes. If the stylist needs to switch something out from the original, outfit, and you need to steam something, that's like, if that's going to make this image stronger, like, we are all in it for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's really important to work with really good people who understand what the end result is and what a vision is.
Yeah.
Right? It's the end vision.
So do you bring in an additional producer to execute something like that? Or do you do that whole production top down? Like, who's organizing this thing?
I do everything.
You do everything, right?
Producers are very expensive, Nelson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, like the budget, but like, yeah, everything that you've seen on I have worked. So I did have a producer, Jolie Dobson. She did some stuff for me. I did a Hotel X campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a very good job. But when you look at like the creative stuff and, editorial, like, it's very, that you're not there for the money. You know what I mean? Like you there for, because that gets you your jobs. Like it's still good money, but like the creative work is what gets you the commercial work, and it's also what fills your soul. So, definitely, there was one time I did, Jolie actually helped me. I did a cover with Sylvia Mantella, Michael Kale, Barry Adovich, Scott G. Patterson.
Yeah, that was recent because I went to that talk.
Yeah, that was with the charity You for Change.
Yeah, that was just before COVID.
Yeah, it was. So Gail.
Yes,
Yes,
Gail.
Gail.
Gail McGinnis, what's up?
Yes, we love you, Gail. She had pitched it to me. And at the time, I was a fashion editor, the main fashion editor at Preferred Men's Magazine. So I get this email. And at that point, I was like, yes. I was like, so I had to like pull all that together. So everything for that was completely donated. I had about 20 assistants.
Wow.
I had like different setups. There was like stylists. I had food donated. We shot at there was a space that was donated. And you needed a space large enough. There was interviews being taken in one room, and then it was, and again, and then 5 people on set, like on a cover, and to get all those people in one room,
yeah,
it was very humbling, especially Michael Kale, because, Michael I have such much love for that human. But Sylvia Mantella, like I basically have gone on her Instagram, said it's her favorite photo to date.
Wow.
And when people, this is my favorite thing. When you have somebody on sets and they commit to you and they don't, you're new, like no one, people might have an idea who I am now and you go to my work. But in the beginning, there was no website. This is just, this girl wanting this. And, there's no, you always creep people. And now it's more like, you were going to be okay. But before it's just like, I'm just in Toronto and I want to do this.
Yeah, they're taking a chance.
They're taking a chance. But when people say they have like 45 minutes or an hour, and then they go back upstairs and they get changed into another outfit and they come back because they then I'm like, and I'm like, it's so, it's satisfying. It's like, just, if I can get you on my set, I know I can keep you. And even if I get you on my set, it hasn't happened yet, and you need to leave, that's okay. You still came, I remember when I booked Jason Priestley. That was one of my first big covers. Actually, the first cover I ever did in Toronto was with etalk, with Ben Maroney and Devin Saltenty. And I was on etalk and I was shooting them. And like, it was like, I had no assistant. It was just me. And there's a crew following me. I was sweating. Drove the truck there, unloaded the truck. I was it was just me. Now I'm like, when I have an intern and assistant, like I treat them well for a reason.
Yeah, that's hard work.
It's such hard work. And then that was on etalk. But then with Jason, when I was, Jason Priestley, he, to confirm that and get that, and I put him in a red jacket from, it was Hendricks Row, bring him back, Canada 150. And I remember he was on set and it's important to understand detail. So I researched. I was like, the same limousine service he uses, made sure his coffee was there, made sure there was food. It's, people feel because it's just people's time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I do everything myself, Nelson.
Yeah.
Because
beautiful.
I'm a bit of a control freak.
I was just going to say that. I was like, you like to be in control.
I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
If you're in a cover as the model, other than that, assistant photographer, the photographer who's your assistant.
Yes.
And you've got, trust / sort of basically the framework she's working in. Do you sort of backseat drive a photographer?
So
she's like, yes, I know.
I think, yeah,
over the
absolutely.
There was that shoot. So God bless Cynthia from the Trend Office. I remember because at the end of the day, seeing myself like that at that time, I'm definitely more confident in my own right now, and understanding my style. But Cynthia had put me in this white jacket from Hillary McMullen. And I was like, I can't wear a white trench coat. I'm thick. And she's like, just put it on. And she was, so I was like, okay. And like, I had extensions in and I was like, I couldn't look at the screen. I turned she's like, stop. So then Cynthia started like speaking to me in a maybe more of a vocal voice. And I had to trust in that. And it was really, really hard for me. So I had a clip that I posted. Peter Papa True from the Marilyn Dennis show had messaged me on my Instagram. He's like, you're giving me life. But it was the white trench coat, right? And he's a top stylist in Canada. And I was like, okay. So fast forward, me not liking white jackets, and I'm in Newfoundland with my mom, and we're at Sports Check, and I try on this white, gorgeous, puffy, Nike jacket, and did I not buy that jacket?
You did.
Yeah, now I'm white jackets all day.
Yeah,
So,
love it.
But it's hard for me to be on the other side, but I'm getting more used to it because I think it's being comfortable of understanding my style. Rockin' Karma has really helped me understand my style a little bit more and owning what it is. Because I used to go to Fashion Week and I'd be in kicks and hoops and a hat, kind of like this, but I feel like I'm elevated a little bit more, but
this looks great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But, and then, when you have people giving you things and making things for you just because they want to boss you up, but understanding my own style.
Yeah.
But I think it also has become comfortable of like who I am as an artist. And I think I've done a lot of work on that, especially in the last 2 years. And to have that match my creative advancement. I mean, 2023, look out, Nelson.
Yeah.
I feel the same.
Yeah.
Well, you have a stylist in your house.
Yes. Very lucky to have
Yes,
one,
you
right?
are. Yes, you are. A very good stylist in your house. Yeah, for sure.
Thank
Love you,
you.
Talia.
Yeah.
Thank you. She's how I know Casey.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's how we met.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Toronto is very small, but when you find good people, you hold them very tight.
Mhm.
But I think like when we talked about before with Rockin' Karma and how we met, that was exactly why I fell in love with you right away. And like with Naomi as well. It's because you have women, and like when I met you
Yeah.
as well, that right away I was like,
You're like,
I was like, these are women that are building you up. And these are people that are safe and that want you to grow.
Yeah.
And are good people. And I know like Naomi always told me, she's like, be careful in this industry. You have a lot of people that are waiting to trip you.
yeah.
And she's like, you are too good and like honest and sweet. Don't get caught up. And you like talked about that so perfectly today.
I feel like, I'm not honest and sweet. I'm direct and blunt, but there's a difference of what, it's, you have to own who you are. And even if you got to show up for you. So if you were in a situation where, obviously there's always business and it's a small city. And I had someone who's one of my mentors recently tell me, still show up to events. Do you know what I mean? Still show up to, don't let that energy control your destiny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to push through that because the only person who's going to announce who is here to stay is you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
Absolutely.
it. Period. So, but yeah, how did we met? Where was the first time that we met?
At Rockin' Karma, because she styles me for all of my events. Like I only wear her
In the
stuff.
store.
And she was like, I need to introduce you to Kay. And then we were like talking back and forth because I just got back in the fashion and modeling industry because
correct.
I got married. I had all these babies. And so I took, so I took 10 years off. And then I went viral on TikTok, and then the entertainment industry found me. Managers were contacting me, and then they kind of brought me back into the world.
She wants to be me, but like she doesn't viral on TikTok. I don't even have TikTok, so maybe we should talk.
You should talk about the TikTok.
talk about the
TikTok.
No, but like, and then I guess like when I went into Rockin' Karma, I strolled by it just because I was looking for clothes to wear to an event, and I saw, and I'm like, this is a representation of who I am.
It's interesting because I went to Los Angeles and Vegas last year for my birthday. And before I left I went to Naomi's store and I had gotten some pieces. And I was in LA and that's where the first cover was shot for Addicted. I worked with this actor/dancer, Jamie Starr. His name is Athila on Instagram, but he's been in his reel is crazy.
That was really,
it was,
I saw that
but
cover.
like that was, I styled that, I directed that. He had this vintage yellow Mustang in the back of his house. I was like, let's just use that.
Yeah,
He picked
get
me
the
up from
car.
get the car. That was a day 2. Start the car, so I had to. He picked me up from the airport. We went straight to a vintage shop. And I was pulling things and I went to his house. I pulled from his clothes. And the next day he picked me up. We went and shot. And I was driving around Los Angeles and I was like, stop here. Like it was so exhilarating.
Yeah.
And to have, because Addicted's always about the underdog too, right?
Yeah.
But, he was just in a Calvin Klein ad. He does a lot of voiceover for Disney. Like, he grew up with a lot of huge, massive people. I mean, Los Angeles, like any city you're in, the industries are small, right?
Mhm.
But that was when I got that shot in the car. I was like, "This is it. This is my first cover for Addicted." Because we had talked about it, but again, I had to go with the right feeling of it. And that shooting out in Los Angeles, and being in Naomi's clothes, I was like you feel like an artist. You know what I mean?
You do.
But it's like it's an empowerment that it comes with. Like, and I knew right away.
Yeah. And it's also like, and now I mix and match with other brands too, but it was a staple of what I needed to understand what my style is. She always says I wear these pants too much. I have the, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like, they're so easy to put on. I have like 4 or 5 pairs of them. But it's just owning the style. So, the Rockin' Karma helped she bossed me up. Like that's straight up. That's like even with Black Iris. I mean, if you have people giving you glasses like this to wear, like, how did, she bossed me up? Like, she bossed me up. Like, and then, I can go to the salon and put some nails on and, I look more put together than what I am.
Like one of Naomi's designs, so the very first dress that I wore to a fashion show I got invited to, it literally says, I wear whatever the fuck I want. And it was this dress. And it was just, that's the kind of clothes that I wear and that you wear. And
I would also wear.
That you would also wear. But it does. It like, as soon as I walked in, nobody knows who the fuck I am in the fashion world. Because again, I've been gone. I've been out. And I'm from like a really small town. So coming into Toronto, they're like, what's this?
Yeah.
And I wore that dress and it was the dress that everybody was talking about. And I wore like this oversized man fedora that did not fit me, but I had really greasy hair. So I was like, well, I'm working all day, so we're just going to put this fedora on. And I had my Steve Madden like leather boots with this beautiful dress. And Naomi's like, somehow. I was like, it only works because I literally, it says I wear whatever the fuck I want. And that's exactly what I did when I showed up at that fashion show.
It's so funny because I was in Turks and Caicos and they have different types of, I guess, at the resorts, the nights. I never really looked that up. I kind of just packed and went. So the night of everyone gets dressed up, I was like, oh God, like, what am I going to wear? So I had like this glow in the dark bra and like I had like the Naomi's and on the back, like it was like a long, and these pants, obviously, heels. And the jacket I had, which was a thinner material, said, I wear whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, I know.
We were at dinner and people were like, oh my God, I love that. And everyone's in these, dresses and the girl, and I'm like, I was just so lazy and I really am down here just for the sun. I really don't give a fuck. I wear whatever the fuck I want. It made me look more planned than what I was.
Yeah.
But people always stop me and they know the brand. And even in LA or Vegas or like in my New York, Miami, doesn't matter where I am. They're like, oh my God, like, what is this brand? Or, oh, Rockin' Karma.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. She's Rockin' Karma.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So karma is good.
So any other exciting things going on in 2023 that you can talk about?
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm definitely moving more into creative direction. I'm going to be directing. I think I have another fashion film I'm working on. There's some music videos coming.
That's
I'm going to be,
interesting.
I really want to move in a creative direction and direction. I want to do what I do, but I don't want to be behind the camera. I want to be controlling everything from a retrospect of I have a vision. I take a team to execute that. So being a director, creative director, I love photography. I still love, video, like, my fashion film that I did with Cindy Sampson, which was nominated for Best Canadian Fashion Film. I can't have showed it like out of the first lockdown. We went into the woods and I directed that. I shot that.
Yeah.
We went in the woods with Vintage Couture, like at this place. And there was no running water, no electricity. So East Coast, Cindy Sampson, our makeup artist and my assistant. But I want to be picked up for creative direction, have my team and execute the brands. And I feel like music videos in the 1990s were the first original fashion films. Mm-hmm. And I want to bring it back. I want to bring fashion back. I want to move forward with that. I love all the digital things and I get it. I get the whole future, but there's an aesthetic that is missing and stories are missing, like, lights and this, but like, what is the story of your music video these days and what is going on? And, I feel like I can help artists execute that. And I love working with crazy personalities and I feel like I can understand that. And so, and I really want my goal, perfume ads, like stuff like that. Like I feel I have the ability to do that. I know I have the ability to do that.
You do.
So there's definitely some things on the table. I am going to be going to the United States. That's happening.
And soon.
No, I don't know if it's going to be soon because I just got booked for a couple of projects. But yeah, it's gonna be transferring out. But yeah, I would say that I will be leaving Toronto at some point in 2023 permanently. There'll be a huge going.
She
away
drops a
pepper-
bomb
That's
here.
a big bomb.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go down there because it's time to make American money, and also I feel that there's definitely a market for me down there for everything that I'm doing, and I feel like sometimes I hit a glass ceiling here, and with everything else, especially like I have more brand content about me and the clothing, and then there are other aspects of what I do. I'm not just a photographer. Like Lindsay Anne Delaney is a brand.
Yeah.
So I want to execute some things. I just did a skit with a Canadian comedian, Donnie Dumphy, in Newfoundland. So like he does he's like Rick Mercer.
Yeah.
So I've known him for a while. So we did a whole skit that's coming out next month. So Donnie Dumphy needs some help from a fashion photographer from Toronto. We shot it in a secondhand clothing store, and so we're gonna have I have a cover coming out. It's a fake cover, but it's Dumpy Couture.
Oh my God, I can't wait for this.
It's so funny. I did it with a Pam Party she used to run the Newfoundland Herald. So Leon Parsons, aka Donnie Dumphy. It's just fun. It's like I walk in and Donnie needs some help, and I'm like, you need more than help because it's basically stereotypical, Bayman. It's his, and he's like they had having a time was at TIFF. They they had a whole project like if you Google it like back like about 10 years ago the album first dropped. So to be able to come back and do that with somebody that I've known for a while, that would be fun. And I feel like I will be in front of the camera more, and I hope to be. So why not? But I definitely feel like there's an elevation coming. And yeah, 2023, Nelson.
Amazing. I think that's so exciting.
I'm super excited.
We are all very excited for you and can't wait to see it all happen.
Follow me on Instagram.
Yeah. And thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
You're so fun.
You're so fun. I feel like, honestly, being on Cast and Creators is a very humbling moment for me because the people that have been on this show before me, I look up to a lot. You guys are you're helping creatives get a different voice out. You're doing something really great here. So honestly, it's my pleasure. And I know within the community that we all really appreciate this platform.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you so
very
much.
kind of you to say.
That's
Thank you so much.
I love
It's true.
you.
Don't tell anybody that I'm nice. Just for me.
They'll have to watch for themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.